Today I'm actually asked to talk about best practices and especially shipping corporate social responsibility. And I thought, I make it a little bit different. The first half of my presentation is absolutely not about shipping and has nothing to do with shipping. And the second half of the presentation, I try to make a link to shipping. I'm not going in details. In fact, I'm only giving you food for thought. It was, I actually want to go back to 24th of April in 2013 in Dhaka. And I don't know if you are aware what happened there, but that was this very tragic incident on this garment factory in Dhaka. A very serious casualty, and it hit all the news in the world. 1,129 people got killed, and more than 2,500 people were injured. This was definitely a black page in the garment industry, especially, of course, in Bangladesh. This led to worldwide criticism, and not just a little bit. Of course, the owners of the building, they have been caught. I didn't follow what happened, but actually they have been caught, luckily. But what was more important, the criticism was towards the manufacturers, the clothing manufacturers, that are using the practices in Dhaka, that are using the practices of cheap labor and bad labor conditions. And these manufacturers, they are not just the ones hidden away, it are the big ones, the big players in the world. And they're actually all affecting us. Probably I have something that came out of that region on my body, and I'm sure several of you will have the same. We don't know that, but we actually should know. So, criticism from journalists, from the industry, criticism towards those major manufacturers, and actually it also led to criticism from politicians. And I know when we talk about politicians, and we all have our own feelings about politicians. They can be good for you, they can be bad for you. And let's not have a discussion on that one here. But definitely, if you look to these quotes from the UK Deputy Prime Minister, I'd like, if you read it yourself, but I'd like to focus on the last bit. Well, prompt people to think again. That's an important message, to think again. Very important message. Another one, by coincidence, is from the UK. I just Googled and used Wikipedia for this presentation, so I came across these ones. But I can assure you there were many, many more politicians who made a statement. An interesting line in this paragraph is that the high street companies in the UK to audit their supply chain. To audit their supply chain. Very important message. And later on is that the framework will request those companies to make vigorous checks to ensure slave labor is not used in third world countries and the UK to produce their goods. Again, a very important message. Then from the EU, I think the most important one is that the EU wants to take actions, but the last line, adding that shoppers should also consider where they are spending their money. And I remember in the beginning of this year, when I participated in the Green4Sea conference, I don't know exactly what I said, but there was a moment that I said that the society becomes more aware of what's going on in the world. And there will be more, for example, a strong demand for organic food, green transportation, well, name it, you can find out yourself. And when I said that, I saw several people in the audience nodding their head that they don't see that happening. Well, I'm sure, because after that I was actually a little bit struck. I monitored that, and in many, many countries in the world, it is the case. If you go to Los Angeles, for example, and I presume many of you have been in Los Angeles before, almost every restaurant, it's organic food. It's not about what they serve, but it has to be organic. It's organic everywhere. If you talk about green products, it's also in my country, people are literally choosing on the etiquettes, on the labels, green products. It's even going to a political side. We have now a movement going on in the Netherlands where they want to choose a sticker label for products imported from Israel, that they are not coming from the Palestinian occupied areas. People are aware. People are getting more aware. And it's all caused, I see you using your smartphone, it's all caused by the electronic age we are in. It's going faster and faster and faster. Very important. Of course, there has been research, and what came out of that? The word corporate social responsibility, as it is turned in blue on the second line. And I underlined in this research from Wieland and Handfield, I presume they come also from the UK, there you see again that they call for a real corporate social responsibility on the global supply chains. And actually is, again, what they say, that the products and the suppliers should be audited. And you should have a collaboration with your local partners, with your stakeholders, in the industry, but also with other partners. Very crucial to prevent accidents, casualties, tragedies, as I started this presentation with. And it was nice to see that I saw on your slide also the word corporate social responsibility. We, at Green Award, we do a lot of audits worldwide. And we see now the first shipping companies, they're coming up with their corporate social responsibility report. And of course, we are a little bit skeptic. We do our audit, and we always ask, what is then your corporate social responsibility actions? What are they? And quite often we notice it's just providing a charity on local services for local people in their surroundings, or, well, it's actually not really corporate social responsibility as it is meant. So I would like to know more how you see that within V-Ships. Very interesting. Corporate social responsibility, what is it all about? I'm using here actually my, my text, so I have to read it as well. But in fact, corporate social responsibility is described in the ISO standard 26000. Well, you heard already many ISO standards today, but this is the ISO standard for corporate social responsibility. And it actually learns you about the concept of corporate social responsibility. It also tells you that it's a voluntary guidance, and it definitely is not meant to be certified. So corporate social responsibility cannot be certified. So you might wonder then, how are we going to do that? Because most of the standards are certifiable. This one not. I'm going to explain why not. I'm trying to. It's actually about the triple bottom line. And you have heard that before, I'm sure. The triple bottom line is people, planet, and profit. These things are, if you deal with those three things, then you are dealing with corporate social responsibility. And in the ISO standard, you get 7 key recommendations for your consideration to discuss these internally in your own organization, but also to include it with your stakeholders and get the buy-in from your stakeholders, and in fact come together to a corporate social responsibility plan. And these are these 7 recommendations. And you might say, well, okay, I'm going to address all of these. It's not that easy. Because your company is trading oil, your company is doing livestock, and your company is doing super yachts. You all have a different environment. But you all have to deal with people, planet, profit. So you have the same, you want to have the same end result, preferably profit, but you have to take care about the other 2 as well. So actually the guideline that makes you juggling with those 7 key elements, that's the whole intention. You have to play with it together with your stakeholders. If you forget your stakeholders and you make your own plan, then actually it's worth nothing. How does that relate to the maritime industry? Actually, you heard it today. MLC, there is the MLC, and I wrote on the header, proactive or reactive. And what I'm going to say now is not new. It's mentioned several times in many conferences and also in many associations. Should the shipping company, should the maritime industry be proactive or reactive? And MLC, ship recycling, water ballast, emissions, is typical an example of being reactive. You have to react on what the politicians decided for you. And why? If you go back to my first slides about DACA, why? Because some of us in the industry, and I don't want to say some of you, some of us in the industry somewhere, made a mess. And that's why we're now facing these regulations, which are decided on by others. Very important. So, and we are always advocating, make a step forward instead of waiting what the rest is doing. Take the action, dare to do it, and show who you are. I'm sure more things are coming up. If you talk about navigation, safety, maintenance, if we continue in this way, if the industry remains so fragmented as it is, one of these days, navigation will lead to, again, regulations that are coming from others than your own people in the industry. An example, a ship sailing to New Zealand, for whatever reason, cutting a corner, passing an area of a sensitive area, run aground, stayed there for a long time, oil difficult to get out of the bunkers, causing pollution. This, I actually expected that this would have led to regulations on routing. So the message is, try to do things together. Show who you are. Show, not as your company only, but show together with your stakeholders, who are we? What are our plans? What do we stand for? What are our values? What are our norms? And what are our ethics? This, finally, if we manage to do that, and that's very difficult, but if we would manage to do this in the industry, then the regulations imposed to you would be different. It's a hard job, it's a long way to go. I thank you very much, but before that, I would also like to invite you, when you have some time, Google, use Wikipedia, look to corporate social responsibility, and also, it's not nice, I can tell you, because you see horrible pictures, but also look to the whole history of this DACA incident. You can learn from it. Thank you very much.